Okay, we'll call the regular council meeting of September 19th, 2020 to order. It's 6:02. Do we have a motion to call the meeting to order? Second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. And we have item number 2, closure of the council meeting. And the proposed topics for discussion in the absence of the public are A, labor, B, legal, 90.1 under legal, and that goes 90.1 A, C, D, F, G, I, K, and N. Okay.
Hey, can I just express a bit of concern? I think we need to be cautious of section N. It's sort of a catch-all item, but I think if, items either are subject to close or not subject to close. And it feels like we've got, we're sort of putting items in closed to decide whether they should be enclosed. And then once they're enclosed, we can't get them out. It seems difficult to get them out of closed. So I think we just want to caution us about items that are used under section N. Concern.
Okay, we've put section N on the agenda as exactly that, as a catch-all, because it's meant to be used if you want to discuss whether function should be enclosed. So you're saying we shouldn't have section N?
Unless there's some reason, something that we're considering putting in there that we're not completely clear about. But anyway, it just sense is that
Councillor
being overused.
Councillor Broughton, are you referring to some of the items enclosed that would be censorship of the mayor's free speech?
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about those. And what I'm suggesting actually, if
Are we discussing the closed agenda? Are we discussing the closed agenda in an open meeting now?
No,
Yes.
I'm asking a comment if this is something that should be in closed session, and Councillor Broughton has brought this up.
On the closed agenda, let's discuss it in closed. Don't start discussing it in the open meeting.
Well, in the spirit of open transparency that we talked about well before this council took office, I think Councillor Broughton has a good point here.
The purpose of N is to discuss whether we should have it in closed or not, and we can have that discussion in closed as per N. Let's stop with the speeches and move into closed and have the discussion.
Councillor Broughton, are you satisfied?
I would actually like to propose a motion if council would entertain that. If I could, very quick motion, be it resolved that all motions, initiatives, or actions to limit or restrict the actions of and authority of the mayor take place in open session.
Okay, do we have a second for that? Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
We're in open session.
Do we have a second? We're in open right now. Do we have a second? All right, I'll second that. All right. Any discussion before we call the vote?
Call the question.
Can you repeat the motion again so that
Okay. Be it resolved that all motions, initiatives, or actions to limit or restrict the actions and authority of the mayor take place in open session.
okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Most dangerous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, motion defeated. Okay, do we have a motion to move into closed session of the meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Yes.
all in favor?
Yep.
Aye. Okay, I'll call the regular council meeting from September 19th to order. It is 7 p.m. and I would just like to acknowledge we're privileged to be meeting and doing work on behalf of the residents of Lions Bay and the traditional unceded territory of the Squamish and Musqueam nations. With that, I will call the meeting to order. There is nothing to report out of closed. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Ross Blackwell to the community. We are very proud that we have Ross in his second day on the job, and he's assured us that we're going to see wonderful things ahead and much more harmony in the village. So Ross, we thank you very much for coming to the village of Lions Bay.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
No pressure.
That's right. And we're locking the door.
Okay. As I mentioned, nothing to report out of closed. We will reassume closed meeting after the open portion. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Okay, second, any additions, edits, revisions?
I've got one, under 10B2. That is a motion that was brought forward and defeated. So it cannot be brought forward again by the same party, so that should be struck, similar to what occurred in closed earlier.
Sorry, can you read that out? Can you read the motion out?
Sorry, before you do, if I could just point out, you've adopted the agenda, so you can't make amendments to it. So you should,
We're having discussion, aren't we?
you should make your amendments first. So you propose your amendments first. And then when you sorted out all of your proposed amendments, then you move that, adopt the agenda as amended.
So Russ, what we've traditionally done is moved it and seconded and then had discussion. I think that's what I heard Ken say, discussion.
Okay, sorry, Ross. So you're saying the agenda has been adopted?
As it is on the paper.
All right, I would respect our new CAO's recommendation that the agenda has been adopted. And if you want to strike that motion at the time, you can.
Although you
do so.
didn't call a question as far as I.
No, that's what I'm saying. We haven't, normally we discuss about it, changes, and then we call the question.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is what the cleaner way to do
It
it,
was not put the motion.
clarify any amendments first. And then when you're satisfied with the amendments, then you move to second, the adoption of the agenda as amended.
So how we'd move to item
So
2?
we adopt the agenda, if we put the question, we vote it down, we go back to.
So the problem is now, if you have a debate over whether you want to withdraw something, then you have to amend. The motion on the table is to adopt it as it is.
Can we just do it wrong one more time? So we
I would just do a redo, I mean.
redo. Okay.
Okay, so guide us through what the right way to do it is. We're at the beginning of item 2.
So if I could,
Yes, thank you, Ross.
I would suggest that the question would be, is there a mover for the adoption of the agenda, or are there any proposed revisions? Okay, and then based on the revisions, there would be somebody would move the agenda as amended,
Okay.
and it would either pass or it would fail. And you'd have to then move to part 2, which is adjust again. So you have agreement on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, is there a mover on the agenda?
Not sure.
Yeah, so I would say. Are there any proposed amendments to the agenda?
Consider the agenda, proposed amendments to the agenda.
Proposed amendments.
Okay,
Yes,
are there any proposed amendments?
yes,
Yeah.
I will repropose my amendment, which would be under 10B2. That motion had been put forward by the mayor previously, defeated. He was on the losing side of that, and so he cannot bring it forward again.
Okay, I will just make a comment on that. That motion is different than the previous motion. The date to reopen is September 22nd. As a council, we agreed to revisit this on a regular basis. And this is, so just so that the public is aware, this is the reopening access to the Lions Bay trailheads. The recommendation is that access to trailheads be reopened by Friday, September 22nd. That is this Friday, subject to the input of Southwestern EMCR, Metro Vancouver, Lions Bay Emergency Program Coordinator, and the Lions Bay Fire Chief. We reassured the public that we would revisit this and discuss this on an ongoing basis. September 22nd is a different date than was previously proposed, so this is a different motion.
To Ross's point earlier, it is substantially the same motion as before, with a minor tweak.
Through the chair, can I say something, please? Guys,
Okay, let's go around the table and we'll, Councillor Abbott.
okay, we already have a standing resolution on the agenda that deals with this matter. We agreed the council resolution was to visit at every council meeting. It's on the agenda. It's another couple of paragraphs down. It reads, Council hereby resolves to take a longer-term view when assessing and reopening parking for hikers seeking to access our trails, beginning with the regular council meeting September 5th, and at each regular council meeting thereafter, as necessary, until the end of the calendar year. Council will review relevant available data, professional opinions in consideration, reversing the closure of parking used to access trails. It's already on the agenda. Why do we need to have it slightly different worded and have it twice? Can we just do that one?
Okay, Councillor Broughton, you have a comment?
It is a substantially different motion. It is a different date, and the date is the time is the critical factor in that. So I think it clearly defines the individuals involved in that, in advising that decision. So I do believe it's a substantively different motion, so I would leave it on the agenda.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe.
I'd like to kind of take the same perspective Councillor Abbott's having. It's essentially redundant. It's going to be discussed just further down on the agenda than under the mayor's report. So.
Okay, I put it forward because as a council, we agreed to.
Are you going to speak?
No, I'm speaking for the first time.
You
Okay, I'm largely first time. Please allow me to speak.
You've spoken a long time about it. Are we all going to speak twice or just get through this? You've made,
I read the resolution
and you made your point.
because you were trying to strike it. And now I'd like to comment on the resolution. Can you have the courtesy to allow me to comment?
So
As opposed to interrupting me. Yes, I said we'd go around the table, Councillor Reuter.
Yeah, but I'd suggest
Okay.
we just get done with it.
Please have some civility and allow me to speak. Okay, this resolution effectively closes the trails down, the trailheads. And that is the trails. We agreed to revisit this. We agreed to listen to the experts in the field. And now we've gone against that expert opinion in the past. I think we owe them the courtesy to revisit this every meeting that we hold. So I'm asking that if we strike this from the agenda, that we have a conversation, we have a debate on whether we're going to reopen these trails subject to the expert opinion, because that's what we're looking for here. The fire chief has been embarrassed with our decision-making. Okay, his peers are reached out. We're the only community in Metro Vancouver and Howe Sound corridor.
On a point of order, you're speechifying ahead of the motion. Can we just get to it?
Okay. I speak next.
Yes, Councillor Abbott.
Your point, we did agree, we had a resolution to have this discussion at every council meeting. It's on the agenda, it's 11B. We've already done that. It's agreed. It will be at every council meeting until the parking's open. It's on 11B. Let's just get to 11B. We don't need to do it in advance.
So you're suggesting we strike this one, keep the other one?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have a fulsome discussion. I'm fine.
Absolutely.
Councillor Broughton or Councillor Reuter, we haven't gone to you, have we?
You know what, let's, to Neville's point and Jamie's, it's on the agenda. It's the standing resolution. It's already there. Why are we discussing it now at the adoption? Let's just button it up and vote on whether we're going to just go with 11B or have both of them on there. Call the question.
Before you do, you may want to ask if there are any other amendments.
Are there any other amendments?
I think this would go.
Thank you, Ross.
under council reports. Just a verbal update on the North Shore Standing Committee on Substance Use.
Great.
Our next meeting is October 6th.
One further item.
Yeah.
I guess it would be 11D. I think it will be a motion which will come out of as a result of 11A. There will be certain appointments made. And I believe some motions that we have handled previously will become redundant. So it would be a motion to rescind certain motions regarding the acting municipal coordinator. So, but it'll become evident where the redundancies are in our later discussions.
What?
Sorry, can you explain that and outline where you,
Well, we currently have the acting municipal coordinator making decisions regarding the submissions in the agenda, making decisions regarding the decisions in the village update in the absence of a CAO. We now have a CAO. As a result, the CAO will now assume certain responsibilities that are in our procedures bylaw.
So to summarize, you're trying to take some work off of Marina's plate.
and hand it to our new CAO, Ross?
As outlined in our municipal.
Ross, are you feeling like you've got strong shoulders?
No problem.
Just a question, whether this is something for open or closed?
This is an open.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, and that item would fall under where, Councillor Buck?
D.
B?
D, I think you said, sorry.
Oh, D, sorry.
I do have a verbal update, on base one stuff, but I was going to bring it up under matters arising from the last meeting. So I'm happy to do it in place.
Okay.
Clarification 8B, are you referring to?
Yeah, there's something in the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
I see.
It's bringing up as matters arising, but just like 1 minutes.
Okay.
But if you prefer, we can put it as a separate item. Oh, probably just better as business arising.
Thank you.
Okay, any other amendments? All right, call the question
So you're gonna move now the agenda as
As amended.
as amended.
Which included,
The agenda as amended.
Okay,
items that I've lost track of.
yeah,
Should be something.
which to be clear, it also included striking one of the two resolutions. Yeah, okay, all right.
got it. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, motion carried. Okay. All right, we'll move to the public portion of the meeting, and do we have anyone in the gallery who would like to speak? Okay. We'll start with Mr. Shretsky. The podium, and just announce your name, just state your name for the record.
All right, Shretsky.
Thank you.
Good evening all. Many of Lions Bay residents have addressed their concern to me recently. In reference to Councillor Marcus Rutter's disrespectful and obstructive behavior during our village meetings. Mr. Rutter's election campaign stated, above all, I recognize the council serves residents. What that means to me is that you have to go inside. Have to be fair, transparent, accountable, free of personal agenda, and leave your ego at the door. I would swear by these
Sorry.
principles.
Mr. Shretsky, just to let you know, our CAO is saying that we can't personally attack any individual, so.
I'm not attacking anybody. I'm going to ask Mr. Ruger to certain.
You got a question for me?
Here for, from
No
CAO,
questions.
please,
Could I,
Okay,
through the
Mr.
chair.
Blackwell.
so just to be more clear with respect to what I was suggesting, it's totally appropriate for you to discuss your concerns about council as a whole. But it is not appropriate to identify any individual council member during an opportunity like this. So
What opportunity would I have to discuss it? Because I asked for delegation and it was declined.
It would be inappropriate in a delegation as well, I'm presuming.
So to be clear, if I could,
Yes.
thank you. So
Councilor,
your delegation request was not declined. You're given 3 options. And you chose not to avail yourself of any of the 3. So the concern with regard to that response was that the purpose of engagement with council has to be respectful, etc. And calling out individual councillors in the public meeting is not deemed appropriate conduct in a council meeting. It's totally appropriate and reasonable to speak respectfully about your concerns. Council as a body, as a whole, but not okay to talk about individuals and your concerns. I would suggest, ultimately, this is up to council, if council wants to entertain it, but in terms of best practice, in terms of reasonable behavior on council meetings, if you have specific concerns with any individual council member, it would be my recommendation to you to take the time to meet with that individual and express your concerns directly or by email or written correspondence. I don't know if that helps.
I think that helps. We've been unclear of that for the last probably almost 11 months, so that helps.
I could contribute to a lot more productive and respectful meetings in general. I'm completely in favor of that.
So
For meetings is to respect each other. That's what it's all about. The whole council should respect us as the residents, because the council represents us. We pay your wages to perform duties for us, but do those duties according to our wishes, not your own wishes, but our wishes, because you represent us, not yourself. That's why I'm asking to be respectful and not obstructive during the meetings. And that obstruction that I try to address been around for a long time, including today. Inappropriate behavior, acting against the mayor, etc. So the respect from all council members is to do just that. And many residents ask me to speak today. This is not a joke. This has to stop. The obstruction of the proceedings at this council must go forward. Not every time philosophizing about how to stop first and second and third motion every time. We paying your wages and you represent us, not otherwise. You don't come here to force us to anything. Is that clear? And Mr. Reuter came to my home 10 times.
okay,
Promised different things.
thank you very much, Mr. Shrutsky.
I'm really.
Uh,
Don't address me by my name. We're not friends here.
Okay, all right, let's take a recess.
Absolutely. Don't
Take a
address me by my name.
Okay, we'll take a recess for 5 minutes, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Thanks everyone for allowing me to call a recess. Mr. Cambis, you'd like to speak, and then we'll go to the online guests.
First of all, I have to say thank you to all of you from behalf of all the residents of Lower Kernigro, that we have this opportunity to close that bloody parking lot for some time, for a period of time, that it takes freedom, it takes the tranquility after a long time, because it's the COVID also we had closing parking. Hopefully we have to do something about it. I heard that today they are going to decide about the formation of parking committee. Am I right?
No, it's not on the agenda.
No, that's not on the agenda.
No, it's not in the agenda, no? Okay. From April that I have been here and asked you for some actions requirement for parking lot, nothing happened, and because of the board summer that we had in front of our houses. Why not? Are you going to have a committee or not, by the way? Who is going to do something about the parking? Not one person.
Can you answer?
It's better that all of you, that's good, or parking committee, that they give you the report and you make a decision. It's going to save your time, even though.
I'll answer that. We have not formed the parking committee. Council has been focused on bringing on a new CAO, and there has been, as we've seen over the last almost a year now, a lot of dysfunction, and the business of the village has suffered. So a parking committee is definitely high on the list, and we'd like to see that come together as early as possible here. And we're thankful that we have a CAO and
very happy
him in action today.
For the
And
first time.
I think, very optimistic.
Yes, we are happy that we have for the first time enhanced CA. But before we didn't have, actually. And by the way, if you decided that to open the parking lot again, something happened that I need the answer now, please.
Mhm.
Most of the signage has been removed. Why? We need more signage for better parking lot. But they remove all the signage that now everybody can come over there and sleep at night in the middle. Why? Who did it?
We have our, Carl, would you like to answer this? We can either pass on it, or would you?
Because even the park cannot do it by itself. You have to make a decision also. Why? Why?
Okay, you've asked the question about signage. Carl, did you want to answer that, or would you like me to?
I will respond in writing to Mr.
Okay, our staff will respond in writing, so thank you very much. And
No, I would like to look.
your 2 minutes
Let me tell you,
is running to an end here, so we can get to some of the others. I'll give you one last question or comment.
one thing that I'm gonna mention to you. You are gonna be witness for the first time. This parking lot damaged my life and my family and many of the residents in Lower Terminal. By removing this signage, there was, for example, for residents, there was for not urination or anything,
Okay.
gonna have a big problem. If anything, and they are gonna, because I'm gonna mention to them, don't urination in here. Please, don't make a noise, but they are attacking to me. If they are attacking to me, anything happens, I don't know who's gonna be responsible.
Campus, thank you very much. I'll respectfully ask you to put it in writing and send it to our Public Works, or address it to the CAO.
What should I do?
Your comments that you just made about the signs. Carl was going to answer. He asked you to make some comments, put it down in writing so he can respond to you.
No, this is bureaucracy. We had decided that it caused some good things for us. Now they remove it for what?
Okay. Thanks, Campus. All right, anyone else in the gallery? Right, talking right. Anyone? No questions online? Don't see any hands. Okay, thank you very much. 10-minute delegations, there is none, so we'll move on. Review and approval of the minutes, the prior meetings. Okay, do we have a motion to approve 7A from August 31st, 2023?
I'll put it forward.
Second.
Second.
Wait, are we going into the Jeopardy moment? What about the amendments? How do we do this?
So you get it on the table for this.
Okay,
These adopted, so these minutes are for adoption.
yes,
So these are already prepared minutes.
okay,
There's a correction before. So you bring the matter to the table and then you can,
the discussion is okay after a first and a second.
and then.
Okay, yep, okay.
All right, we'll go around the table, start with Councillor Abbott, then Councillor Reuter, Councillor Cunliffe.
I have nothing on the special meeting.
We're doing 7A, I
We're
presume?
doing 7A, August 31st special council meeting. I have nothing on that.
I have nothing on 7A either.
No.
7A, I'd like to add, I don't believe on page 7. Page 7, hang on. Page 7, the intent of that, of the resolution was to get the expert's opinion or feedback. Barrett Gurmchai, the fire chief, gave his report. It says here, report on the differences in the fire response within the outside village. I think we should add the village of Lions Bay does not meet the critical threshold to close access to the trails. He made that clear in his over 20 minutes speaking to the public. Could we add that?
Can I comment on that? These minutes are very sort of nondescript. They don't go into one side or the other side of the argument. He said a lot of things. I think we should just leave it the way it is. To be honest, rather than try to find what his recommendation was.
I would agree. I believe that Deanna Campbell made that clear to us that the minutes are supposed to be a summary and not like a.
Can I ask
Yeah, we'll ask.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yeah.
So the reason that they spoke was because we were seeking expert opinion on whether they felt the trail should be open or closed. We sought the expert opinion of the fire chief. He gave us a response that the village of Lions Bay does not meet the critical threshold to close the access to the trails. That was the crux of the resolution. Is that important that it be put in there?
Well, so unfortunately, it's a longer answer. So to your point, Councillor Cullen's point, the minutes are supposed to just be a general overview to capture the flavor and intent. However, it's the privilege of any member of council to suggest that the minutes as recorded don't accurately reflect the nature of the discussion because there may be one or more points of significance that warrant being captured and have not been. So to your point, if that is felt like an important piece, you can make the request that that be amended to reflect that, and the council can vote on it. So agrees.
Okay.
The problem with that is where does it end? Because I'm also going to want to make it important to point out the fire chief said we made the right decision in the first place. That was the first thing he said. That's very important too. I'd also then want to point out Full Focus and said at least 5 times, I'm not a subject matter expert on this. I'd like to add that to it. We're going to go and try to find the whole speech again. I think we should just leave them the way they are.
Agreed.
I think in this case, that would be a good idea. We could.
We don't really need to reinvent that debate.
Okay. Council is in agreement with that. I'm fine with that. Okay.
No, I think that was a material piece of his presentation was that he did agree that we made a right decision the previous week based on information that he had at the time. He supported the decision that was made. And then in light of new information, or in light of information available on the 31st of August, he then made the statement that he made, which was that it did not meet the criteria, and spent some time explaining that. So I think it is a material matter, but the will of council will prevail here. So.
All right.
I would suggest that
Why don't we have
I would move that the wording be added as you suggest.
Okay, a second. All right, I'll second that. We've had a discussion. We want to call a question. Sure. Call a question. All those in favor of adding the village of Lions Bay does not meet the critical threshold to close access to trails. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, motion defeated.
So Ross, do we now
Motion
need?
to accept the minutes from 7A as presented?
Yes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, motion to accept the September 5th, 2023 minutes.
Move that.
Second.
Correction.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
Okay, under the committees, it was mentioned that it would come back to the council meeting September 18th, and we're actually on September 19th, so that's page number 10, just a calendar.
Page number?
Page 9 is
7 of 9.
Page 7?
9 of 95, which page number you using?
On the agenda package, which page?
9 of 95.
Under item
3.
3, September. It's
Next meeting should be
instead of 9.
should be 9.
yeah, agreed.
I had one on that same sentence, but Yeah, I leave it. It's a little bit of grammar. The chief administrative officer, as of today, kind of could be read that he started that day, but fine, just leave it. He didn't start that day, but
Why don't we just strike it as of today?
I was going to suggest strike off as of, and then it reads fine.
Yeah, so strike as of today and change September 18 to 19.
It's 19, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be clearer, yes.
Okay.
Okay. We fine with those amendments? Call the question, all in favor?
Do you have a mover and seconder? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
It does.
Thank you, Brian.
And we move the last second.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, and we'll move to item number 8, business rising. We have 9A procurement policy. The recommendation was to adopt the procurement policy as amended or with amendment. Section 2.2.
You going through the unfinished business? Ken?
I did not see unfinished
Are
business.
you going through the unfinished business list now?
No, sorry, 8.
8A, yes?
8A.
Yes.
Business rising.
Yes. So I've got something under business areas.
Okay,
You have be very smart, yeah.
Yes, this one.
okay,
Okay, so could I speak to 8A?
yes,
There's a recommendation that the council adopt procurement policy as amended. With the amendment, this has been presented to us sometime back. It's been out for input. And I'm going to suggest that we make the amendment for the procurement amount in the first category from 10,000 to 5,000. That seems to be a move that council is in favor of. But what I would suggest is that we then refer this matter back to staff with the suggestion that they bring it to the next council meeting on October the 3rd for passage. I think this procurement policy has been out, and I think it's been reviewed, and it has the green component to it. It has the various requirements for government requirements for procurement. It's actually updating a purchasing policy in 2002, which was updated in 2016 in a very minor way. So it's very, very dramatically out of date, but there's been a lot of people involved in the review of this. And I think it's time to move it along. But I'd like to, make that change to $5,000 as the discretionary amount on the lowest category, and also give our CAO the opportunity to review it prior to it coming back to council.
To be clear, that's the first box. The under 10 is going to be changed to under 5.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. That was the
okay,
flavor of the discussion in our meeting. Yeah.
all right, so that's a motion.
So,
Have a second.
yeah.
Okay, any discussion before we call the question?
Oh, yeah, I've got quite a lot.
Okay, we'll go Councillor Abbott, Councillor Reuter, Councillor Cunliffe, Rowe.
So in the first paragraph, it has the statement, 5 lines down, the village has endorsed certain fundamental principles it considers applicable to public purchasing by all departments.
What page is this now?
17.
Page 17.
Purpose.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure what we mean by all departments.
Everyone affected by the.
So we have a work yard, that department, and we have the office. So are we suggesting it's those two entities? This policy covers both work staff as well as office staff. Is that what I read from that?
Presumably, yeah.
I think it could be a little clearer. We don't have departments. I've never heard of anything defined as a department in the village of Lions Bay. So I think we should use wording that's a little more clear to Lions Bay.
All employees.
Well, it could be
Principles as it considers applicable to public purchasing, and then just strike by all departments.
strike departments, yeah. Item 1.4, we have 3 qualified budders. If they are buds, I don't think they should be pre-qualified, so I'd suggest it's meant to say bidders. Otherwise, it would be a conflict of interest. 1.8. Encourage or requires the use of materials and products that have less embodied carbon. Encourage or requires.
Sorry, was the last one 1.4 because we've got
So the last one was 1.4.
we have two 1.4, so we can change the
Oh, that's true.
number in as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, that would be.
Okay, I'm going to leave. Sorry, I'm going to leave 1.8 because we did agree to that language previously. That's fine. That comes from the green language. Okay, so when we had the discussion last time, I had some opinions about these values, the DOAs, and I thought they were generally all higher than should be appropriate for Lions Bay. Michael suggested that the first one be reduced to 5,000. Not in disagreement with that. I think the second one should probably be a maximum of 10,000, not 25, in my opinion. So this is no written quotes required. I think 25,000 is a lot of money for someone to spend based on a phone call, because that's what's allowed here. It also says the operations manager may approve with chief financial officer. Well, we don't have an operations manager. We have a workshop manager and a CAO who's named next. So I'm suggesting operations manager, maybe he's meant to be workshop manager, if that's the intent. And then in the rest of that, in the last sentence here, it talks about approval based on predetermined weighted criteria. I asked if we had a template for our criteria, because it's not here, and I think it's missing. We have had, I have seen contracts in the villages all awarded where they've said, price is 50%, environmental impacts is 10%, safety is 5%, proposal quality, this kind of criteria. I've seen that used, but it isn't anywhere. It isn't predetermined. So I think we should have, if it is predetermined, it should be, I think we should, and I'm sure you could adjust it on a case-by-case basis, but I think we should start off with something that at least stipulates the categories that we're going to determine this on. And it's not in this document. I think it's missing. So, yeah, I'm looking for an opinion on that one.
If I could, through you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. These are fair points. So I've been on both sides of this coin. I've spent lots and lots of money submitting on proposals and bidding on contracts, when it would have been nice to have had a bit more clarity.
Absolutely.
That said, so I've looked at these things for a lot of years, and rather than debate this, what I would recommend is just kick it back and let me take a look at this, because there's a few, I don't think this is problematic in my mind relative to the cost of things and how business is done. This is, in my experience, I wouldn't say this is gonna bode well for the village. So
you're suggesting
I would just
leave it
boot
with,
it back. I'll take a look. I'll come
bring it
back.
back to
Yeah.
council.
Then
Okay.
pick it up. That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Are we good with that recommendation, or would you like to make some more comments?
I won't go line by line as I was going in that case, but I'll just add a couple of things. Maybe I will just let it come back to you. The sole source part's not explained. That's something you need to go. It talks about sole sourcing, but it isn't explained anyway, what that means. And it doesn't say who approves the sole source. I'm assuming there's various approvals here. What comes to council doesn't mention it for sole source. I would have thought that came to council. But anyway, and my other questions are, yeah, you'll probably find them, Ross, but I can, yeah, we can see when it comes back. Sure.
Okay, we fine with kicking this back? Ross?
And can I add, if that's council's decision, feel free to shoot me an email with any of your concerns and I will fold all of that. All of this into something that I'll bring back and get sure it's a bit tighter.
Okay.
And I just mention now, one thing, under informal quotation, it appears we're authorizing up to $1 short of 75,000 based on a phone call and with some particulars noted down about date and time. That would be something that would concern me. Yeah.
Should.
Yeah.
Sorry, two other things. They define stipulated price contracts and unit price contracts. Nothing wrong with the definition. It's not used in the document, so I don't know why it's in the definitions.
Okay, are we comfortable with kicking this back to staff?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic then.
thank you.
Item number B, and that was Councillor Abbott. That was a Bear Smart.
Yeah, so, yeah, in the last meeting, we had, Simon Gravel. Simon Gravel provided a delegation for us. I have subsequently spoken with Simon Gravel, as well as with Chris Ford, and he's confirmed that Chris Ford will be our liaison. So that's good news. And for those of you who don't know, he went away on paternity leave. He's now back, and he is actually an ex-Lions Bay resident. Well, he grew up in Lions Bay. He was born here, but he certainly grew up here. So that's great news. And based on what people know him relatively well, so it's great news. We had a Best One meeting yesterday, and I can give a more full updates in the next meeting.
Sunday.
What did I say?
Sunday. We had it on Sunday.
Sunday, what did I say?
Yesterday.
Oh, sorry, Sunday. Thanks, Marcus. We had a meeting on Sunday. And we'll give a more full update later. We looked at some of Simon's requests from his delegation and looked back at the original Best One plan, which was approved by the Conservation Office, which is all this is based on. And some of the things like the communications thing are actually in the plan already. So yeah, I think we could, certainly needs updated, time to be refreshed. So I think, we can make quick progress down there on getting the conservation, getting the meeting set up with the conservation and the other stakeholders. I have been in regular contact with Waste Collection Services, WCS. And I know the manager there. Through other interactions we've had on garbage Best Mart, myself and Carl have spoken on various things. So I can make that contact, and I'll work with Chris Ford and schedule this meeting. It's looking like probably October. We'll look forward to getting that meeting going. I did just want to touch on one other item that came up in the meeting. There were some suggestions, and including Councillor Broughton, that there was confusion around Best Mart initiatives and what we were trying to do. So we went back and checked, and I'm not puzzled by this because I think they've done a really good job of communicating. But just some numbers for you. In the last 2 years, this small group has done 42 village updates, and that's 42 different write-ups, some of which have been put in the village update more than once. So 42 different write-ups have gone in the village update. We've established a website. In case anyone still doesn't know where it is, it's linesbaybesmart.ca. It was launched in September. Our information is on the village website. It's been updated there. We've had 4 community events using a wildlife educator. We had too many Facebook posts to count. A presentation about bear behaviors was held in this chamber on June 3rd, and we're going to do another one of those soon. And I advise anyone that wants to understand from a real bear person, bear behaviors, come to it. It's very enlightening. We've done staff presentations at the school to the staff as well as saplings. We've done presentations to the kids in fall last year. We've done a brochure that's dropped into everyone's mailboxes. You might remember this. We've got it in every single mailbox, and we're probably going to be looking at doing another campaign around there or something similar soon. And we put posters up in the mailroom. So I just wanted everyone to understand a relatively small group of people have done a very large amount of work around communications in this committee. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
So for clarity, beyond the bare essentials then.
Beyond the bare essentials, way beyond. Thank you. I like humor. You're welcome to bring.
Okay. Any questions? That was great.
Just the bare
Okay, we'll move to item number 9, unfinished business. Item number 265, follow up with ministry regarding the vacancy tax and report back to council. Councillor Reuter.
Yeah, ongoing. I should have something fairly soon on that.
Okay, I'll leave that. 284, contact local member. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
284, contact local member of parliament, member of legislative assembly to inform CNN Rail's request. Councillor Broughton.
Okay, I will be meeting with Tyler Bannock, who is the CN representative on Thursday at the UBCM. And I'll be updating our MP and MLA on some recent information that I shared with council at the last meeting. And I'm hoping that as a result of meeting with Mr. Bannock, it'll facilitate meeting with Transport Canada, met with the Public Works Manager as well, and secure the westbound stop signs and move ahead with the repositioning of the other stop signs on across the tracks, which to me seemed like a very, very appropriate change, being that I was just about nailed at the top of the Marina Hill this past week. Some confusion with stop signs coming up. So anyway, so that is ongoing, and hopefully will get resolved in the next number of weeks.
Okay, thank you for that. 285, apply for this disaster mitigation adaptation fund.
That one should have been struck.
Yeah, that we
Should have been struck last time.
Done, yeah.
last time, didn't we? Okay. Update on diesel reports with recent information, report back to council. Carl, ongoing?
Still ongoing.
Okay,
Paul, when do you see some clearance on the runway that we can get this? It's been hanging around a while.
Yeah, in my administrative hours, I am working on the 3 months overdue water report. So it will be October. I promised total health that I will do water report by the end of the month.
okay. 289 and 90, first draft of local government, is Joe Cherkoff. Is Joe online? No, okay. We've got ongoing for that, 289, 290.
Sorry, hang on a minute. You can strike 289. We've done it.
Right, 289, okay. 290, identifying information sources in the local government climate action program. Any comments on that?
Information sources in local government. Yeah. I think that's part of 289.
Mm-hmm.
We've done all of these. Yeah.
Okay, we'll strike both those.
Weeks later, yeah, good.
Procurement policy, you've got that going back to staff.
Should we
You can strike it from one of the two areas.
Or update that.
update to
CAO.
Okay. Renewable diesel,
So repeat as well.
repeat, you strike that. Bayview Bridge, Carl, would you like to give us an update on that?
It's essentially finished. We have 7 large timbers missing. The timber broker doesn't know why. We didn't discover this until we got to the bottom of the last bundle. They're on order. Production time is about 2 weeks. Inspection time for the wood preservative treatments unknown. Because unsure whether they're going to be sold in the US or in Canada. Fasteners are all in place except the nails to nail the boards. We've got some cleanup to do starting either tomorrow or Thursday, depending on what council decides on other works involved projects. And then it will be ready for private access.
Railings go up or they're all up? Good.
Is it
Okay,
usable without the missing timbers?
Yes.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I should have said that.
Yeah.
so can the resident, when will he be able to drive across and use his property?
Will the further work require the stop signage again, which I presume wasn't? And the lift?
Parking permit.
Okay.
Depends on what council said that you got.
Good. Okay, thanks for that update. Okay, 294 best practices. This will be referred to our CAO on correspondence, and I think he had a few words earlier, so I'm sure there'll be some good information come forward and in future agendas, I would imagine. So, okay. 295.
Sorry, can I just add one to that? You might want to throw the village update policy into there as well. It's not exactly the same, but it is aligned. Can't remember the number.
1407, I think.
Yeah, 1407, I think. Yeah.
If I could,
Yes,
thank you through you. So I'll look at all. I don't even know what this is about.
No, you don't.
So if it's simply how it looks, then I'll look at everything.
okay.
Village updated.
Yeah, as I said, there's a third policy called the village update policy, 1407. which is-
07, I think, yeah.
That'd be
The
great.
three of them are really
Okay,
fine.
we all fine with that?
Yeah.
Good. 295. Council meet with stakeholders on the Clap building. And we had a meeting on that with Andrew Oliver, Carl Burr, Barrett Germerscheid, Phil Fulkerson, Russ Micklejohn, Michael Broughton, and myself. And Carl, would you like to give us a brief feedback on that?
Yes, the high level view on that one is that Andrew will take on the role of construction manager. I'll take on the role of project manager, and we are proceeding. We will meet the requirements of the grant, which is to show a substantial start of construction by the end of the month. And then there's some design tweaks that Russ Micklejohn is looking at, the architect, to accommodate some extra size requirements, accommodating up to 35 flights and the gear, moving some air compressor equipment around, accommodating space for potential future community police function, search and rescue, all the sort of first responder stuff. So now I'm getting down to the weeds. The project is well underway. It will be the plan of the grant deadline and substantial completion with the design that people will support.
Okay, thank you. That's positive.
One key question you didn't mention was budget.
We're aware of the budget, it's $497,000. Of the funds that are already spent on design services. The construction manager, Andrew, is confident, given the changes that we discussed, which would use existing footing to not build out the second floor rooms, but just to provide essentially a future load bearing deck that will come in well within the available money that we're spending.
That's the big de-scope some items from, yeah.
Yeah, the main descoping was, Mr. Mayor, you can perhaps chime in here, was that there was a room that would make for a very large multi-purpose room on the top floor. We've actually pulled that room away. We're going to put a window in the existing, a door in the existing wall and leave that for another budget cycle. We will not lose any particular necessary function by so doing.
I think that was going to be utilized by Phil Fulkerson and emergency response, and he said there's enough space up there as it is, so
Yeah, that's.
it wasn't needed at this time.
So I noticed from the list of the people you mentioned, the SARS manager wasn't there, Ed Langford?
No.
He's one of the stakeholders as well, right? I mean, they use some.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time up there with him, working on things, and I sort of have an understanding what their requirements are. Where they are is pretty good. their staff that they use to support if they have a long support call. So also living stuff like a kitchen and that will be taken care of. So,
Can you make him aware of the changes?
Yeah, there was no, it wasn't done intentionally to eliminate him at all.
yeah, he's pretty, he'll be happy to have the original plan, of course, the second plan and even the curtail plan. So the space that we have now curtailed wasn't going to be for search and rescue anyway, so
Right.
yeah, it's not a big constraint.
Yeah, I know he was a big proponent of the previous D-scope to get it under budget, so he was very involved in that. So you, circle back with him.
I will actually just run it by him to make sure that he's happy with it. Yeah, thanks.
He's been in ongoing discussions with Andrew on it as well, I believe, so that's great, it's terrific. Now, it talks about reissuing the building permit. My understanding is that there was a building permit issued and it was active. The date that I.
The plans as they currently stand now, since we're going to be de-scoping, I see no problem at all for a new building permit because nothing that is building permittable has changed. In fact, de-scoping, we have less load worries, we have no cantilevers anymore. So it will require a new building permit, but that's an internal function. So
But it's not
that's
not an issue. Beautiful, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Carl.
And my only comment would be to put plat building, and that's actually, it's not referencing the 295, it is in regards to the Clap building.
Yeah.
It just says stakeholders.
Yeah, good point.
Text.
Okay. Good. Okay, we'll move to reports staff, updated audit and annual report status, and we don't have Joe on the line, and Ross, I think it's probably too early to throw you into the fire, so Carl, I imagine why don't we bring you up to speed as quick as possible and you can speak with Joe about where we're at on this. Everyone fine with that, or would you like to comment?
I've got a question. I've sent a fairly long list of suggestions and changes and so on to Randy and subsequently to Joe. I was asked to. Have other councillors chimed in, or is it coming back to us the way? I mean, Ross hasn't seen it yet, but.
Good.
Yes.
Thanks.
Ross.
So through you, are you referring to the annual report?
Yes.
So you shouldn't see it. This is something that should be given to you by the CAO. And you say, thank you very much. And that's the end of it. If you don't adopt it, well, sorry, you do adopt it. You don't necessarily tinker with the content. These are pretty boilerplate exercises, should be pretty boilerplate exercises. So let's say this, in all my career, I've never seen boards or councils ever
Weigh in.
weigh in.
Would the finance committee review this?
Certainly the audit, absolutely, with 100%. So the expectation with regard to the audit, council should have lots of questions.
Okay.
And so forth. Absolutely. I'm speaking only about the annual report, which is just simply saying, here are the statistics. Here's what we did here.
So as diplomatically as I can say, I made some considerable suggestions. I would suggest you look at those in the light of what you're going to bring back to us. In past, council has weighed in with suggestions and changes. In my previous term, last fall. So that I assume that was normal. We were given it and asked to comment, so I did. But I think you will find that there is some work to do.
Okay, that's good to.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that you don't pay attention to some of the comments, put it that way.
If I could.
Yes.
Thank you. So, yeah, perhaps I don't know where I can access those. So if maybe we can talk later.
I'll send it again. I'll just
Thank you.
forward you the email that I sent to Randy.
Yeah.
Is your CAO email up and running or?
In theory, yes.
In theory, yeah, okay. So we would direct things that way.
Please.
At this point, yeah, okay.
Maybe we can get the last edition and we can forward it to the finance committee as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, any other comments?
I had some early comments earlier on, but I don't know what happened with them in terms of the annual report, so. Because there was no challenge.
All right. We'll move that back to staff and everyone fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item, which is storage container recommendation that council approve funds for purchase of a document storage container. It has not been included in any previous budget. Not sure who put that forward, that resolution. I know there was discussion about cleaning up, Ross, you may or may not have noticed that the office has actually been cleaned up substantially in the last couple months. And I know there's been a lot of storage being held right in the office, and there was discussion to put some of those boxes into a storage container or to whatever it took, move them out of the office so that there's just more breathable space in there. There was also some comments, and I think Councillor Broughton had brought up a comment about the digitization of this as well, because I think we're behind in that, and that would possibly save some storage space as well. Feel free to comment, Councillor Broughton or others.
Yeah, my understanding is that there was a digitization process started like several years ago.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that.
And I don't know where that went, but it was not completed. But to me, it just seems very primitive in year 2023 that we're buying storage containers to store boxes of data, which we're in real difficulty accessing.
Yeah.
So my take would be that the digitization process should be accelerated.
Okay. Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. So through you, strangely, I had a conversation about this yesterday. And there's been significant progress, I understand, with respect to that. That said, there's a statutory obligation to hold on to records, so you don't get to do both. Or sorry, one or the other, you have to do both. So you can't get rid of your records. So there's different time frames, and it's been a while since I familiarized myself. Any time frame with regard to this stuff is a nuisance because of the fact that most people now move through life digitally. However, there's a statutory obligation to hold on to records. Certain records, I think, is 7 years, and other ones it's 15 years or something like that.
So we need to do both. One
Yeah,
for
unfortunately, we have to do
convenience and
yes.
one for legal
We'll
requirements.
call it operational reasons.
Yep.
The other because you have statutory obligation.
So, yeah, but I'm questioning if we're keeping more than the statutory obligations, to be honest. I don't know. I do remember the digitization program, and it was, it came up every year in our budgets. And I mean, that's council. We keep paying for it every year, 10 grand a year, if I remember correctly. Okay,
there's no dollar figure on renting or purchasing a container, or we can kick this back to
I think we,
staff.
Thank you. So one additional comment I could offer is many communities use the central facilities.
Like Maple Leaf Storage.
Well, there's special document
Okay,
storage facilities.
yeah.
So they are designed to avoid problems with fire and so on and so forth. I don't know what the rates are for that anymore. I don't know the volume of records that need to be stored. So I would suggest need to be a cost benefit analysis done to determine what is the best approach.
in the report we got, it seemed like the rental option was considered, but maybe it's not the same idea using shipping the records to somewhere as opposed to renting somewhere.
Renting a container, yeah.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
I do just have one other comment. If you go down the path of deciding to buy one of these, the two quotes aren't apples and apples. They don't have the same insulation value. The one has a door, the other one doesn't. So if you are evaluating them, and I would have thought you want to consider, one suggests you insulate the floor as well as the walls and the ceiling. I would think you should do that. The cheap one doesn't. So anyway, those are my comments on the actual quotes. They're not even, but I guess you might not even get named that bad.
Okay. This is another, would you like us to kick it back to you? You can, our staff can check into
That's council.
other alternatives.
And I can bring perhaps back a brief report that sort of highlights your options.
Yeah.
And so forth.
And for approval at that time.
For your consideration. Yeah.
Okay.
Which could be approval or direction or whatever.
Confirmation, we're not hoarding, we're actually throwing everything away after 16 years if we don't have to keep it.
That would be the goal. As soon as the village is able to disown some of the stuff, it's a good thing to do. So.
Okay,
Just one other question. Is it safe? Is it to store things offsite? Is that a reasonable option?
Probably safer.
In dedicated, sorry, I could.
yes,
So, sorry, thank you, through you. So these dedicated facilities, absolutely.
Okay.
But not any facilities. I would suggest you
Not
don't
any
stick it in, for example. Yeah, for a number of reasons, legal reasons. They don't purport to protect documents, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Right.
These other dedicated facilities do. So, there are a few moving pieces with regard to records management. As far as I know, there's no dedicated records management process here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I picked up on that. Part of that records management process includes managing the hard copies of things. So.
Okay. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number B1, distribute the village evacuation plan and the community emergency plan. Do we have a motion to be resolved for the village, for the safety of the village, that council instructs staff to release the previously published 2022 evacuation plan and the July 2022 community emergency plan and a special edition of the village update, September 30th. Okay, that was in response to concerns from our villagers that there isn't an evacuation plan. There's been lots of discussion on that. Do we have a motion for that?
Move that it be provided to the community.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, I could go first.
Okay, Councillor Abbott, Reuter, Councillor Broughton, Councillor Cunliffe.
So the document attached was known as the evacuation brochure. And I have had a subsequent conversation with Phil today. It was also called the evacuation brochure because previous deputy emergency planning coordinator, Robert Whitney, previous EPC, who was Peter de Jong at the time, as well as Phil, have all told us this is not an evacuation plan. So I discussed that with Phil and he agrees the evacuation plan is Annex C of our emergency plan. Our emergency plan is incomplete. We've been asking for this for years. It's incomplete. I spoke to Phil today again about it and he's told me that there's no point in completing it now because there's new regulations coming out and the evacuation plan has to be done in a different way and they're working on the small version and it's not going to happen for a little while, so he doesn't want to do any redundant work. All that, the emergency document you got attached to your Ken, which is something that the ESS coordinator and Phil came up with, as well as Mary did it. This, once again, is not the emergency plan, it's the community emergency plan. And it's like the brochure that we were told to call it a brochure because it wasn't a plan, is the forward-facing public awareness document. It's not the evacuation plan. I spoke about that document with Phil. I think it's a good idea. We should certainly get it out there for that purpose. It creates awareness. It's a forward-facing thing. It's a very short plan. But I discussed with Phil today that I think it's missing one critical emergency. And I get we're just looking at the top half dozen here, but the one that's not addressed is the possibility that we're going to lose our water supply, and which could happen for two reasons. We could be running low on water, which has come close and happened every summer in the last while, or there's a failure which has come close to happening in the past in the summer as well. Phil agrees that we should add that before we do anything with this. I said to him, Phil, this is the EPC meeting. This is what they're there for. This is where we need to flesh this out. He agreed. He wants to, but he has to go away on personal business. So he's suggesting we have one in October. I think we should just bring it back in October, get it cleaned up, decide what to do, understand when we are going to get the actual evacuation plan. Phil says he'll have better information really soon when we can actually finish it. Put a deadline down, give ourselves a milestone when we're going to issue the updated evacuation plan. So I would like to see this come back to the EPC. And not go out the way it is at the moment. I have no concerns about the changes to the brochure, including changing the names and all that stuff. Not concerned about that. Do believe an update's good. It's not lines by alert anymore. It's alertable, all of that stuff. Update's good. But I think we should just bring it back to the committee and then roll it out. Last time we rolled out that brochure over 4 weeks, it was part of the evacuation month. It was May in 21. It wasn't 22, by the way. It was 21. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, Councillor Ryder.
Yeah, I'd echo what Neville's saying. And I mean, if the motion is an answer, is intended to be an answer to a question that was raised, whether there is or is not an evacuation plan, I think it's pretty clear that this is not that animal. It's discussed on page 41 that this is a community emergency plan. And further down that it's based on a 2022 brochure as to that. So I think it does need to go back to the EPC, but insofar as the motion that is there, this doesn't satisfy that requirement. And it doesn't answer that question. So I think we need to work on it through the EPC, but the motion doesn't make much sense as it is presented.
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
I think that there's some information out there that we have no plan, that there doesn't appear to be a plan. It's incorrect information. And I think it just would be respectful to the community to get what we have out there. It's going to be updated. It's going to be ongoing. In terms of water supply, yeah, that's certainly an item that needs to be added. But in terms of we have a lot of new residents in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know when I've missed when the last went out, but I think it would be useful to get it out it would go out in digital form on the village update or linked to the village website through the village update. So I think it's basically a no cost item. It's a safety item. And it seems to me that there's no point in delay because it will create awareness, which can then be updated.
Okay, Councillor Conlon.
Well, I am not adverse to sending the emergency plan back out to the village, but I do believe we need to amend the motion because it is not an evacuation plan, it's an emergency plan. So sending out accurate information to the residents is what we need to do. I'd be in favor of that. And just to circle back to what Ross was saying earlier about communication, that there was a statement by a resident and we should not be putting residents' names moving forward into any part of the agenda package. Would be my comment. So, but if you're friendly amendment, just remove the evacuation plan part of that, then
The community emergency plan.
it's on the website anyway. If we put a link in the VU for people to have a look at, I don't see any harm.
Yeah, perhaps a link and not the whole plan.
Okay, I'll just do a final comment and then we'll call a question. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings and lack of information out. I know this was mailed out to everyone and people, residents at that time were encouraged to put in their little safety kit. So I think just to put people at rest that there is a plan out there. It may not be the final plan. I think it doesn't cost us anything to put it in the village update. So I would be in favor of that. I'll call the question.
With the friendly amendment?
With the friendly amendment.
Just to be clear, so we don't want to do the changes of adding the water issue as one of the emergencies.
Yes.
We do.
We would see that down the road.
Yeah, we'll do that.
As prior to it going out.
Why wouldn't we do that now before we send it out?
Because that'll take time. Let's get it out there and,
but it's out there.
It's information that's already on the website. We're just gonna make it more accessible for someone who's not gonna go mine the website.
Updating the version that's on the website makes.
Are we going around the table a second time?
Transparency.
I'll call a question. All in favor of putting this in the village update?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Not as is, I'd like it changed.
With the amendment, opposed? Have it as opposed, Reuter?
The
Not any
amendment
amendments.
were to release the previously published community emergency plan and strike the 2022 evacuation plan out of that statement.
Could we add one further amendment?
No, it's already done. Were you opposed or not? Okay, motion carried. Okay, next item. Reopening of trailheads, that's deferred. Access to private property, recommendation, motion be it resolved, the Bear Smart representative must obtain written approval to enter private property. Motion for that. Okay, second.
Second.
All right, discussion.
I go.
Councillor Abbott, Councillor Reuter, Broughton, and Cunliffe.
This resolution is not required. It makes no sense. No Bear Smart representative ever goes on private property. The attractant audits that sparked this whole thing is a bylaw initiative that is initiated by bylaw. Josie, who was the bylaw officer 3 years ago from Squamish, introduced a wildlife specialist. They've done this in Squamish. It is not a Bear Smart initiative. There's no one from Bear Smart involved in these audits. So it's a nonsensical resolution. It's not required. It doesn't mean anything. But if you want to pass it, pass it. But it doesn't, but it implies that Bear Smart people are going on people's properties. That's not accurate.
Okay, Councillor Reuter.
Yeah, I can't think of any legitimate reason for this to be on here, except, well, leave that to people's imaginations. It's pretty clear that this doesn't happen. I see no reason for it to be there. It's an absurdity as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
Well, my understanding is that there were residents who were concerned because there were bylaw officers and their representatives, and I'm not sure where they were on their property without their knowledge. And so I think whether the wording is off, I'm not sure, but I believe that's what it's attempting to address. And that is that people who are identified as village bear related people, including the bylaw enforcement officer, were in fact found on people's property by surprise. And that they felt very violated by that. So I'm not sure quite how to address that, but I believe that's where the issue is.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe.
I think it's problematic in the fact that the Bear Smart Committee may very well just be distributing literature and door hangers and so forth. So then we're going down a slippery slope where any member of any committee or anyone in the village is going to have to start obtaining written approval to enter private property, which then I don't want the Girl Guides knocking on my door selling me cookies without written approval. So yeah, I think this is just opening up a can of worms that is unnecessary.
Okay, it was in response to representatives along with the bylaw inspecting people's properties, knocking on their door, and the complaint that I had, the resident did not answer the door, and then the representatives started to move around their property, and that was very disturbing for them.
Bylaw?
Sorry, King, this was one complaint that came to you?
This was a complaint that came to me, and I heard this through others as well. They were quite concerned, and I think there was discussion in the village about that. And I think that this probably strained the Bear Smart organization, didn't help it. So
It's unfortunate because I could have answered it straight away because it wasn't anything to do with Bear Smart. But anyway.
Well, that's the concern is that you get lumped into, in. There needs to be the clarity. And I believe there was a letter to council on this, so I'm not sure earlier on.
There's letters in the correspondence, right?
There was a letter in the correspondence, but yeah.
No, sorry,
So I think
it wasn't.
that is what we're trying to address, the fact that there's, perception of maybe some heavy-handedness at different times. So
By whom?
I think that's, I don't know.
Are we going around twice now?
no, we'll call the question. All in favor? No one in favor? Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, motion defeated.
Not there, yeah.
Okay. Next
Just
item,
for clarity, Michael and Ken, how did you vote on that?
I didn't vote.
Michael was opposed.
Was it?
I didn't vote.
You didn't vote. Okay.
Okay, plat building, and that's standard practice. The mayor doesn't vote unless there's a need to have a decision made.
Thank you for that edification.
In the past, I believe the mayor.
I'm wondering if that's accurate, not the way it happened on previous councils. Do you agree with that?
Chair.
Thinking through you, perhaps this is a really important discussion, maybe not now, I would suggest maybe. You know, there are lots of sort of procedural considerations that I think would be valuable to have,
You've picked up on tonight.
just generally speaking.
Fair enough.
We're expecting big things by the end of the week. Okay, thank you. Item number 4 was plat building. We covered that off. We'll move to item number 10C, council Butterfly Way project update.
Yeah, so the Butterfly Way project, just a short verbal update. I just wanted to tell council and congratulate Val Morton and his team who after a few years, they've been doing this for last year, this year, as you're probably aware, if you've come to any events. And they achieved the critical mass required to be a Butterfly Way. So Lions Bay is now one of Dave Suzuki Butterfly Project communities.
Excellent.
So we're bird friendly, bear friendly, and butterfly friendly.
And we got the bees covered.
Wow.
Birds, butterflies.
I join in the congratulations, and my wife and 6-year-old grandson planted a butterfly garden, and we have a Butterfly Way sign in our yard, so we're on board.
Excellent.
Great.
Thanks, Noel. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Move to
my verbal report or just update. So the North Shore Standing Committee on Substance Use put forward a motion that was supported to partner with Vancouver Coastal in a substance abuse awareness overdose prevention campaign. Ideally, it was a rough proposal brought in to do a transit campaign, so banners on the bus, at the C bus. And we didn't get too much into the detail of how the campaign would look, but in principle, it's supported. There's still some discussion, so we were just asked to come to the next meeting, gauging our community's support, willingness to support, and from a financial perspective, what we would maybe be willing to contribute. Being the size of community that we are, we would be asked to provide substantially less than West Vancouver, City of North Vancouver, District of North Vancouver. So I guess the question would be, do we support being part of this? Ideally, what we would have is our kind of village logo, small on the campaign. And it would be, I think, a 45-day campaign. So.
Totally support the concept, yeah.
Sure, I'm good with it.
Is that a motion?
yeah,
Motion is
Motion.
in principle support, okay. I'm,
second.
Do you have you said a small amount, do you have an idea of the numbers?
I would,
Of the
well, we
dollars?
already have a budget that we figure will cover a substantial part of it. And then we are gonna go out to private enterprise and offer them sponsorship ability of maybe.
Not a budget worry for council, right?
It's not a budget worry. It would be very minimal. And in fact, I think the goal is that we will get enough corporate and community sponsorship that we may not have to put a penny out, even the committee itself, ideally. So.
Okay,
So
Blackwell.
perhaps a bit of more clarity for the minute taker with regard to the preciseness of your motion.
That in principle, we support the forthcoming campaign by the North Shore Standing Committee on Substance Use to raise awareness about the overdose crisis that is currently taking place and has been for several years within the Lower Mainland and Metro Vancouver.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, committee is Climate Action Committee.
Okay,
And that would be Councillor Abbott.
yeah, so Climate Action Committee held a meeting in September. Came up with two actions that are somewhat linked, that they want to move forward with. The first one is they want to start to do a communications campaign through the village update. But there's an understanding from online research and so on that there's a climate action toolkit that gets mentioned by Metro. And the expectation is that we should be able to leverage, rather than spending lots of time and effort on creating educational materials, we should be able to leverage the stuff that Metro does. And Ken, the ask was specifically of you, as you sit on the Metro Climate Action Committee, if you could ask them about this availability of materials. Do they have a campaign plan that we can join, and that we could piggyback on, or just how they would see it work, and maybe some guidance as to the best place to get those materials and permission to use them.
Okay, I'll follow up on that.
That's the one. The second one was they want to go out with a climate action survey to gather sort of baseline information about residents. It's a fairly simple, high-level survey. It's attached. I'm assuming everyone has read it, and welcome to feed some questions here now, if that's appropriate, or if you want to put them in email and send them to the committee or to me pass on to the committee. We can do that, but we can go to the survey in a minute. Yeah, that's the essence of the report. I didn't read it, but I don't think I missed anything. Yeah.
So there's a motion then involved in this, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I didn't come up with a motion. I didn't know that there was a
Okay.
motion. Oh, actually, sorry, Norm did come up with a resolution. He did.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, Norm wrote this. Initially, we said we didn't think we needed a motion. So there's a resolution. Norm wrote, and I'll read that. The Climate Action Committee recommends council resolves to inquire with Metro Vancouver CAC on the availability of a climate action toolkit for use by Metro municipalities to support local climate action awareness campaigns, and that council resolved to allocate sufficient staff time to integrate the CAC survey into the VU and village website for an October publication. Did I have a second?
Second.
I have nothing further to say.
Could I just ask a question about the survey? Just in reading through the survey, I wasn't sure what it was it was kind of a tick if you're interested in something, but there was no priority or no.
Good question. So the person that wrote the survey, I'm used to seeing, rank 1 to 5, was very strong that she believed those were bad surveys. And it should really be tick all that apply.
Everything that you're interested
So everything, so one of those, tick everything you think is relevant. So the committee kicked it around, and there wasn't a lot of debate, went with her recommendation. And so yeah, we did consider that a ranking system or less than 1 to 5, but was decided just tick everything that you do. And that's why the survey's in two kind of sections. The first one's where you are on climate awareness and actions you would support. And then the second one is more about your own behavior. Do you do certain items? So that's why it's in two sections. So it's not about which is the most important. It is if you do this, you take it.
Yeah, it strikes me that the survey is kind of a dual purpose. One, it's an educational survey to the person who's completing it.
Yes.
So to do some thinking.
And creating awareness, yes.
Yeah, creating awareness. But then the other, I'm always a bit leery with surveys because then the results come back and it becomes a marketing tool for something.
The second part is, other ways, is it to create a kind of baseline. So that's why I ask questions, trying to work out how many people do have EVs? How many people have heat pumps? How many people might still be on oil?
We have the largest EV population per capita apparently in the lower.
I've heard that anecdotally, and it'd be great if the numbers support it so that
Right.
you can get some stats.
Yeah, that came up in the House on Community Forum. So, but I would like to see the data.
I just have a question. Part of it is resolved to allocate sufficient staff time. Do we need to? You tell us how much time you can allocate, how much time you think should be allocated, what the cost and so on, as opposed to the climate action starting to direct staff and tie up staff time. That would be my question. How perhaps this wording can be done a little bit differently to put it in the staff's court as to how much time you have available to allocate and so on.
Well, thank you for that question. So normally, resolutions of this type are usually referred to staff for input where there is an ask of the local government in terms of money or staff, whatever the case may be. I'm not familiar with.
You've had it since yesterday. I submitted it on Thursday at noon.
Friday, to get it done.
I'm not familiar with it to be able to gauge the degree of involvement. So if you want something accurate, you may, I don't know if it's time sensitive or not.
It's not time sensitive, other than we've been talking about it. It's time to get it done. It's relatively small. We've done these have your say type things before. I think we used SurveyMonkey in the past. I can't remember. So it's not a lot of staff time. I'm looking across at the reading. I don't wish you smiling or growling at me, but anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Is there a way it could be more requestive and less directive?
Could it come back to the next meeting?
Yeah, why don't we come back the next meeting? It gives Ross an opportunity to look at this. I will certainly inquire about the packages and so on. That's not a big deal. So I can do that. And then you bring it back next meeting and we address it. That's fine.
Sure, if it does turn out to be something you can do in a really small amount of time, can we just do it?
Yeah.
Rather than bring it back? At your discretion.
So before I go down that road, was there a motion on the floor?
The motion was what I read out.
Yes.
So then you would probably want to withdraw your motion. But can I do what you've asked? Absolutely. If it seems like a paltry amount of time, then we'll just take care of it. If there's greater involvement, I'll bring it back, get your request to the next meeting for your consideration. So what do I mean by that? I don't know. Let's just say if it's something significantly above an hour, whatever that means, relative to other priorities, I'll bring it back.
So to be clear, we're going to pass the motion and then leave that within your discretion.
He's suggesting withdraw the motion.
Withdraw the motion and leave it to staff discretion.
Okay.
All right,
All right. Okay.
As you
give me a call tomorrow, I'll run you through.
Okay, Lions Bay Beach Park update, Councillor Cunliffe, Councillor Broughton, would you like to jump in on this?
Okay, our next meeting will be September 27th. The committee's been very active through the summer. And there was a report in the village update last Friday, which was very, very helpful. I think it brought a lot of residents up to speed. There are currently 3 RFPs awarded in terms of the architecture for the washroom and built structures, in terms of the construction management and also the playgrounds. I was requested to provide the materials to do with that, and which I did so today, so that those are available to anyone who would like to review the process. So the beach park is moving along. We've got a tremendous team working on it. Thank you to the Works Department for providing access to the park the other day. We did have an opportunity to identify some huge boulders which will be used in landscaping. There was some concern that they may be not suitable for rock building and, for wall building, I should say. And my understanding is that the goal was not to use them for wall building, but more for the landscaping and part of the conceptualization of upgrading of the park. So it was a tremendous opportunity in terms of climate action. We had a dump truck moving them 100 yards from a site at 100 Lions Bay Avenue to the park, and versus having them trucked away at cost to the homeowner. And then us, when we were seeking them in the future, having them trucked from, I guess, Squamish, I'm not sure. So anyway, it was a real win-win, I think, for everybody. In fact, I think the contract would have loved us to take a lot more, but anyway, there was a number of truckloads which are now carefully placed on the grass of the beach park. And the grass, I think, fared fairly well with the truck.
It was less damage than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's better than I thought. So that's great. So anyway, so things are moving along. As we'll report back the meeting September 27th. So we'll have a report on October the 3rd next meeting.
Okay. Councillor Cunliffe, anything?
No, thank you, Michael. It
Okay,
was a nice savings though, to get some
Yeah.
low impact environmentally. And every little bit of money that we can save goes a long way here.
Just
You checked them out environmentally, right?
Pardon me?
You checked them out environmentally?
Well, we're not trucking them in from somewhere
You
else.
sure they're not acid rock draining?
I did
That
not.
could be a concern.
speaking to the quality of care that's taken place, though, is the rocks were actually placed in the park, and the construction manager actually went down there with a bar to make sure that they were all secure, that they weren't able to roll, like children getting on them rolling or whatever, and ensure that they were firmly in place. So it's just true, really taken very seriously and really very much appreciated. So
that's great. Thanks for that update. Carl, anything you would like to update?
No, I'm just all still being formed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's great. Thank you very much. And that's an exciting project. Okay.
Michael, just want to comment on the proposals you sent us this afternoon, or the information you sent us this
I
afternoon.
sent the information. Yeah.
Only one of the construction management files open, the other one doesn't open.
Oh,
You can't see that. And then
well,
on the playscapes, all you sent was the scoring sheet. That wasn't council's ask. We asked if we could see.
you want the 125 pages? Sure. Okay.
Okay, maybe you guys can take
We
it
approve.
offline.
Sure.
Okay, let me know.
We wanted something that shows what was approved at the council table.
Okay, emergency services, I see that's on here. Anything? Anyone has? No? Okay.
Would you like me to leave the room for this next item?
Well, you're going to be assigned a lot of different items. I'm fine unless, how does the rest council feel about this?
Could you just go and watch it on the tape later, so if.
Well, so you can speak freely amongst yourselves without me being in the room.
And then you can watch it later anyway.
I'd have no difficulty with Mr. Blackwell's.
I don't have any problems.
Yeah, no, I'm-
If it's something comes up, I would
Okay, anyone else?
set that aside at that time. I might say, could we excuse him?
I'd probably defer to you tonight to see whether you're comfortable with all of these items
That's a lot.
by Friday. Okay, is everyone else comfortable with?
Yeah.
Mr. Black will stand there. Okay,
If that's within your comfort zone.
Absolutely. I just wanted to show.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
okay, the recommendation that Ross Blackwell be appointed as a chief administration officer, appointed as corporate officer, appointed as approving officer, appointed as bylaw enforcement officer, appointed as bylaw enforcement screening officer, appointed as the head for the purposes of Freedom of Information Protection Privacy Act, and that Ross Blackwell be added to the banking signatory in accordance with the requirements of the Bank of Nova Scotia, with all appointments effective immediately.
So moved.
One small correction, chief administrative officer, not chief administration officer.
Administrative, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll second that.
All right, discussion. Call the question, all in favor, procedural?
Yes,
Yes.
Opposed, carried.
You sure?
yeah.
Congratulations. Your shoulders are just sunk down a little bit.
Not a bit.
Welcome, Russ.
Okay, item 11B, reconsideration of the closing the parking used to access the trails. Okay,
Sorry if I could,
yes.
before I have a feeling this might be a long discussion.
Mhm.
I have one ferry left to go and I have to take my leave and if I hope to not be homeless tonight.
Okay,
So I have to excuse myself.
we appreciate your guidance and I think it was very positive. So thank you very much and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
If you have 2 minutes.
Yes.
Before you go,
In fact, I do.
what's your feeling on this topic? Do you have any insight before we have a discussion?
Thank you. So through you, my sense of this is that there's a lot of hair on this. And you may want to set this aside as a specific discussion item, have a special council meeting to discuss it. Unless you want to go to bed really late tonight, because I have a feeling that I could be wrong, but my read is that there's probably a lot of discussion to be had here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're suggesting that we call a special meeting for this?
If you,
An item?
yeah, if you think it's going to be a long, I mean, I don't really know. My sense, it's only kind of general sense. If you feel that this, based on the history of this item, if you feel that there's a lot of discussion, what does that mean? North of 30 minutes on this, you may, at this point in the evening, you may want to sequester this item and deal with it at a different meeting so you can complete the rest of the agenda and you'll be fresher in a different state of mind to discuss this. But if it's not, then tally ho.
Okay.
We did have stuff in closing we wanted to get back to.
Mhm.
Might. Yeah, might be wise.
So I'm fine with calling a special meeting. I think that this is an important issue for Lions Bay and especially how we're perceived within the metro community as well as Howe Sound community. So I think this is important to establish that we're either going to follow the guidance of our professionals or not. So if I'm fine with setting this aside, but I will be calling a special meeting.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Have a special meeting then, I'm okay.
So that would be shortly then, because this is quite
Before the end of the week.
sensitive.
Okay,
So you probably should have a resolution to do that.
okay, we'll call a special meeting for Friday.
Well, when we do today's, we can need 24 hours unless we're gonna. Say
We
it's
could
an
do it
emergency,
Thursday.
so we could do it Thursday.
I'm with that. Thursday, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
I will have to call in, but yeah, I could do that.
Okay, resolution on that?
Do you want to?
Motion.
Can you, sorry, can you make it, if we make it 6, Jamie, instead of 5? Can you be in person? It'd be better to have everyone in the room.
And Russ, will you be here for this?
Honestly, it would be better to just do it at 5 and then I can.
Okay, resolution for a special meeting Thursday,
I
5
can
PM.
Call in on my way here. Do a hybrid.
Okay.
Starting second,
Yeah,
second.
okay, all in favor?
So to be clear, the motion is to call a special meeting to address item 11B this Thursday at 5 PM.
Or I could, sorry, if I could,
Mhm.
to move this specific agenda item to a special meeting at that date and time.
This Thursday at 5 PM.
Yeah.
For the recorder. Okay.
Okay. Call the question, all in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Okay, thank you for that guidance, Ross.
Next and future be pulled.
You trying to leave that with me to take a look? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, safe there, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Ross. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for welcome.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
thank you.
So just right here.
Sorry.
Stop pause.
Mhm.
Because you're gonna move into close, right? So if you're already gonna. Oh, Carl's gonna give you, okay, then I'm gonna stay. Oh, that is.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Thanks, Ross.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, item number 11C, Rail Safety Week. A recommendation where Rail Safety Week to be held across Canada from September 18th to 24th, whereas 232 railway crossing and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2022, resulting in 66 avoidable fatalities and 43 avoidable serious injuries, whereas the educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railway right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with the highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas the Operation Lifesaver is a public/private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, rail industry, governments, police services, media, and others to raise rail safety awareness, whereas CNN has requested City Council adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in communities, including our municipality, is hereby resolved to support National Rail Safety Week to be held from September 18th to 24th, 2023.
I would move the motion with the one variation, and that city council will become village council.
Okay.
And with that, move the motion, it's requested by CN Rail, and as I said, I'll be meeting with CN Rail on Thursday.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Question?
Question?
No, I was wondering why we needed to do this resolution, and I read the correspondence. There's actually an ask from them, so, yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Two. Bylaws, nothing. 12, correspondence, Jamie, over to you.
Were we going to discuss briefly the rescinding of some of the acting municipal coordinator duties?
We did, yes.
Do we want to leave that with, as a discussion with staff to have with the CAO, or?
I would think so.
I think so, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it just an operational thing?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure because we were, lining up a whole bunch of criteria.
I don't think no one's gonna
He
debate.
will-
We were gonna put one or two out and have a debate about them. That would have been fine, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be helpful if Ross was here as well, so.
Yeah.
Okay. We find deferring that?
The procedures bylaw refers to the CAO doing this and CAO doing that. Well, when we didn't have a CAO, obviously, we had a backup. So anyway.
Okay, over to you, Counselor.
Ross is not available this Friday for them.
Good enough. Okay, correspondence, Counselor Conlon.
Okay, the general correspondence, we have a couple of comments from outside residents and discussion about the hiking access, so one pro, one con. There was a webinar on the municipal protected areas project. Yes?
Yes, please.
Pardon?
Yes, please.
You'd like to go to this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, what page is that on?
Number 73. It's a commitment to the United Nations Biodiversity Conference. We conserve 30% of our lands and waters by 2030.
30.
So Neville, you have at it.
Maybe some of the groups I represent would expect me to be there.
There we are, the birds, the bees, and the butterflies.
Fun action as well.
And yeah, there's those.
The only one question I've got is it says and appropriate staff, is there any need for a staff person? It has crossed the lines. I'm happy to go online.
I mean, you could put it to staff if there is one particular staff member that is super keen, and by all means extend the invitation, but doesn't seem to me it's kind of requirement. The RCMP and Surrey will receive this information. Unless anybody has comment on that. The UCBM annual convention booth for anti-human trafficking. So I will not be able to be in attendance at the UCBM, but if anybody's there and wants to go by the booth, have a conversation, we can apprise us of what that may look like. When it comes to.
Is anyone be attending the UBCM?
I was there the last couple of days. I'll try to make it by that booth.
Okay.
Is there a specific time there?
The booth number 623. It seems like perhaps something that will be there the entire conference, so. We've got some more resident correspondence and discussion to trails to be received. The suspicious person from resident McDonald. There's a mention of the block watch, reinstating block watch in that neighborhood. Now, to my understanding, block watch in the village has essentially dissolved. Is that where it last stood?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's an accurate depiction.
We need volunteers. We had 2 volunteers earlier in the year. Both have said they're not interested. So we're going to have to put that out to see whether there's other volunteers.
So perhaps that could be submission for the BU volunteer call, or the next time we put out a call for volunteers, including the parking committee.
I would suggest we have a councillor that wants to sort of be the person that promotes that. It's my suggestion. I was doing in the past. I'm not offering to do it anymore. And it has got a connection to the EPC, and when we get the evacuation plan done, there's a connection between that, because they're talking about having a similar structure. I think we're only going to do it once.
So should we present this at the EPC to the EPC as a consideration, an add-on?
I certainly think we should have a discussion, with the EPC. Maybe that's a better way to do it.
It coincides with the alert, I think, that Phil's trying to implement.
Yeah, it's exactly the same idea. I've given Phil the previous block watch setup, so he knows the blocks, so he can use those. So he's coming into, it's definitely those 2 entities need to be connected. I only have one question, staff, maybe Marina can find out. I don't know if we paid our dues this year. We didn't? Okay, so we didn't pay our dues. It was a small fee, as I remember, like $100 or something. Okay. So we did sign up as members of VC Blockwatch Society after Squamish RCMP stopped performing Blockwatch for us. So we were signed up members.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like we haven't paid our dues, so now. But the people named are no longer working Blockwatch. So we new people, rename them and pay our dues again is what would need to happen.
Okay. So
Clarify earlier on, I was asked, I'll be at the UBCM on Thursday, meeting with CN. And we also have a resident who invited all of us to lunch.
I did see that, yes.
Yeah, so I may, if depending on how the timing was, I do that as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Don't you have to pay to attend the UBCM?
So are you paying for yourself, or?
No, the village would cover that. As they had in the past when I attended.
Did you go to Whistler?
I went to Whistler and
You came with a budget, you came and requested it.
Yeah.
I guess future. Too bad Ross isn't here.
Ross was actually commenting on whether other councillors were attending, and said that it was just Councillor Broughton and myself, and
Okay, so.
So next year,
Invited.
yeah. everyone
Yeah,
was-
yeah, and I'm not unable to get out of my day job to do that this week. But in the future, I might be able to plan a little more in advance. There is a comment from Mr. Doherty in regards to, essentially, it's the village updates kind of communication policy. So I would suggest that we ask the CAO to read his comments and when reviewing the communication policies, see the relevancy there.
Mhm.
And then there was,
I think you might need some,
we can give him some context. and
need some background there. because-
I think he should be the one to respond to this as opposed to one of the counselors, because we're gonna review that and we'll see where this goes down the road.
So we'll take it as received right now.
Received,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Resident, Cyril, just addressing speeding cars and unsafe traffic practices in the village. And I wanted to thank staff for already putting something in the VU
Yes.
to the effect of reminding residents that school is back in session and to watch out. And there was a comment about sidewalks, so I know we are going to be revisiting the connector project at some point. So it just sort of brought that back to mind. And then again, from resident Cyril, I encourage all of you to click the link on the communications that Squamish, I believe, or no, it's the Sunshine Coast put out about people respecting pack it in, pack it out. I know Squamish has put a huge campaign together as well to educate users of the backcountry. So something that we should look at and see how we can incorporate something similar in the future. And then I will actually lead this. We discussed on the annual report from Ms. Rogers was addressed tonight. Not to her satisfaction, I imagine, but we are getting there. Something for the CAO to bring back to us. And then I actually seem to have lost Norma's last letter about the Bear Smart, but it was essentially, oh, thank you. Thanking the Simon Gravel for coming. And then I want to leave this one with you, Neville, if you have one final comment you'd like to make on that.
No, I think we discussed that on Sunday. I think it's a good idea. Norma's the right person to do that. And the previous communication kind of flow chart that needs to be updated was in the previous plan. So, yeah. that makes
Okay.
sense.
And that,
Could I add one thing? Item R8 on page 90 is a piece of correspondence by a resident pointing us to a news piece that we might want to bear in mind for our special meeting. And it essentially reminds us that the Minister of Forests at the provincial level has reminded us that wildfires in the fall season are usually caused by people and not lightning events, as it turns out. They're usually human caused at this time of year and going.
So, as you know, Councillor Reuter, we defer to our experts and our fire chief and our emergency response. So hopefully in that meeting on Friday, we won't disappoint them once again and embarrass them in front of their peers. And we'll actually Thursday,
Let's discuss.
corrected. So
all right.
I'm hoping that meeting will, rational minds will prevail and we'll follow our experts' advice.
That would be a delight to have reason in the room, yes.
All right. So
I believe
Can I
have a conflict on Thursday. I'm just trying to figure it out. And so Thursday dinner will not work
So Friday,
for me at all.
so you want to read,
Could we move it to Friday? Would that work?
I'm fine with Friday.
we're gonna have to rescind our motion, our resolution?
Yeah, let's do it now quickly.
Okay, I'll rescind that motion to have a special meeting on Friday 6 p.m.
Hang on, we got to rescind the
Rescind the previous motion.
Okay.
Move to rescind the previous motion.
That Friday is not. If, yeah,
You can do Friday.
no,
Saturday? Actually, I can't do Saturday.
Can you do it earlier on Thursday? Four p.m.
Four could probably work, yeah.
Okay.
Could anybody, could 3:30 work or?
I could probably swing 4, but I will definitely be calling in and 3:30 would
That's
be
before, but
pushing.
it would have to
Okay.
be 5, is it 5:40?
Yeah. Hard stop. Okay, 4 p.m. Oh, so we'll rescind the 6 p.m.
Just give me 1 second. So we now Thursday at 4, are we?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do that.
yeah, I'm booked downtown that night, so.
Okay, rescind the 6 p.m. time. Motion to rescind that.
I'll move that.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
yes,
Okay, motion to move that meeting, special meeting to 4 p.m.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, carried. Okay, 4 p.m. Okay, any other correspondence?
No, that is concludes the correspondence and I move to adjourn.
Okay.
Do we have motion public participation?
Oh, no, sorry.
Step.
Yeah, I guess I could look at have each. Right.
Not so fast.
To accept it. Second,
We,
back into close, right?
sorry,
Public participation.
public participation,
Station,
yep.
yeah,
and then we're back into close.
no new business. Sorry, before we do that, we'll move to public questions, so we'll open it up. Anyone in the gallery would like to speak?
If I understand right, you're waiting to decide whether to open the trailheads or not?
The special meeting, yes.
Okay.
On Thursday at 4.
Yes,
Meet again.
Okay, it's public questions, comments,
there.
questions. Okay, online, anyone online would like to ask a question? Or have a comment? No one's stepping forward. Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting. We'll move into close. Okay, motion to move into closed.
Oops. We're not adjourning, we are,
No. Moving into closed.
we're adjourning the open meeting, right?
Okay, second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, carried. Okay. Okay, welcome back to the September 19th open portion of the meeting. Being no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'm
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed, carried. Motion is adjourned for the evening. Thank you very much.
And what's the button to push there? We're always giving these specific instructions.